have JT Hunter here with us today, and we're going to go over how to have those conversations before it's too late. So today we're going to be discussing why families avoid having these conversations, the consequences of waiting too long, how to start the conversations, the essential topics to cover, and then what are the next steps for planning. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. A crisis could happen at any moment. What are the 3 essential topics that family members should be discussing, JT?
Would you know the care that person wants? And we say that a lot until we have that conversation and find out I might be wrong. Who would be responsible? That's when we take for granted until we didn't get that warning message and tomorrow's the crisis. The big third is how would it be paid for? And so many of us may have misconceptions or not realize what would or wouldn't be paid for.
The weird thing about this is we know we should be having these conversations. Statistically, there's a 70% chance that all of us are going to need care at one day. So it just makes sense to plan for that care. So why are families avoiding having this conversation?
Tabitha, I think this slide says it best. First, I'm going to start with the fear. The fear is often, as your slide says, of upsetting this person. And I understand that as someone who's walked this journey of caring for someone, I didn't want to make her mad or upset her. As silly as that can sound once I said it out loud, we all carry that fear. And I think right behind that is don't know how to start, don't know where to start. And when those 2 barriers are alone or in front of us, it can tend to get pushed off. Almost, I think, tricking ourselves to think we will see a perfect time and a perfect moment, which doesn't exist. So leads me to it's too early. I cannot stress this enough. It's never too early. The worst thing you can do is wait. As you go in this journey, worst case scenario is you have some conversations maybe you never need. Once we've done it, we've got it out of the way. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's never too early, in my opinion. And again, we don't want to think about it. I think goes back to it's unpleasant. It's frightening. It brings in bad thoughts, negative thoughts. It's going to dampen the mood. Do you know what these 4 pillars really say to me? It's hard. And why do we avoid these? Because we're human and we love and we care. Waiting is not going to allow you to accomplish your goals. It's the crippler to anything we have in mind and any wishes, any wants. Waiting is the enemy of caregiving goals. You cannot make any clear, calm decision. Rational conversations don't happen in the crisis. So it defeats its purpose. And it's going to lead to everything under that. Everything in the period, in my opinion, starts and is built from those decisions that we waited till the crisis has happened.
I feel like we say this a lot, but there's a 70% chance that people are going to need care, and yet everyone still waits to the crisis. And when that crisis happens, it leads to the emotional aspect. You're already stressed out, family conflicts. Oh my goodness. How often does a family not agree on what should be done? You don't have the luxury of doing this is what mom wanted, because then you're stuck with these are the only options that are left because we didn't plan. People assume Medicare is going to cover most of long-term care decisions. Spoiler, Medicare doesn't cover any of this. It is private pay only, and it is somewhere between $4,000 to $12,000 a month for this type of care. And caregiver burnout, because again, a lot of families are not prepared for this financially. So someone has to take time off of work. They're not able to spend time with their children at their events, and they're trying to juggle all of it, and they are exhausted. So that's what happens if people don't plan.
We need to talk about when to have these conversations. Well, obviously before the crisis, right? We can't say that enough, so please bear with us. Attending a funeral. Well, my job as a caregiver coach is to use what we have in front of us, getting very creative, not manipulating. Many of us would never think of a funeral. I'm just planting a seed and consider what's on our mind at a funeral. What are the feelings? What's right in front of us? Right? We always say to each other, we need to live life and remember what's important in life. You know, when we reflect and usually say that, when we lost someone. That's all I'll say about that. Noticing new struggles. I caution people, just keep in mind with this one, don't overwhelm the person, okay? Maybe keep a journal. Maybe keep a few notes. You want to notice those new struggles because it's going to give you the right keys to get in certain doors of conversation. So don't always maybe point it out every time it happens, if that makes sense, right? Keep notes of it because you're going to turn that at some point into say, I've had some concerns and I love you. Could I share those concerns of what I've noticed? That's where that ties in. And again, as I may have said earlier, there really is no wrong time. But let me give you a low-hanging fruit when we're already doing something pleasant. You and I are having a nice Sunday drive, just got 2 milkshakes at the diner. We're feeling good. As weird as it could sound, that could be a moment. Right? That could be a conversation. They may say something I've noticed, or why can't I? So when you're prepared, you can jump right through that door and say, well, I've noticed, or I've been concerned too. Those are often doors of success.
What I've often encountered is the children want to have the conversation. The parents want to have the conversation. They're afraid the other person doesn't want to have the conversation. And so often it's just having the conversation.
Look, Tabitha, as a mediator, that's usually how my job in bringing people, it's kind of like, well, we got to bring the team A to the team B to have that conversation. And that's why I say we're human. Oftentimes when you're sitting in the seat asking me these questions, just keep in mind the person you're worried about is probably having most of the same thoughts. Who's going to cross that bridge first? Let me go back to starting that conversation. Now we've got to the table. How do I open up? What do I say? So let me give you some quick guidance, right? Whatever we're concerned about, what's brought us here, just keep in mind, even if that person hasn't spoke it or brought it to you, we're human. I always tell people, it doesn't matter the disease or condition, okay? If you've noticed, trust me that they've had the internal moment where they realize something is wrong. So it's okay to open up and say, hey, Mom, I'm just curious. Have you thought about what you would like, what you would wish? So, with my mother, I always say, Mom, hey, I was just thinking, I know there's certain things that maybe you would want or that you see best for you that maybe my sister and I would disagree. I blame it on someone else. My sister and I would disagree on. So I know you do this, Mom, but just to know, if you write it down and document it, Liz and I won't have to argue about it. So that would be such a gift for me. If you catch the jewels in that, I put it on kind of me and the siblings, right? Put it on us, but it'd make you as a mom, feel safe. So it was a soft opening, right? It was a unfrightening way to maybe get her to open up. And again, think about that tool. We all have different wants and wishes, so that's always a low-hanging fruit in families. Mom, I want to be cremated and I know you want to be buried. So I was just thinking, is that written down? Softball into this. You don't have to jump into the 12-foot deep end right away, okay? And I think that's where most of us fail. We kind of go too big. Share what you're learning. This is another powerful one. And I'll show you 2 ways. If they bring something to you, easy way to connect. I'm so glad you feel safe sharing. And I want you to know I've been researching too. If it's together, it's a we thing. Lead with love and curiosity. This is the most frightening thing to all of us, whether we admit it or not. So if we lead with love, we lead with that empathy, but also open curiosity. And remember, this journey, we're in it together. Establish that from the beginning. Don't lose this message. Keep this with you. You do not need to and probably won't have all the answers. That's not the important part. We're in this together and we'll get through it together.
So what exactly are the key topics? What are the main things that should be discussed?
What we're doing here today is covering those general areas that we all need to touch on and talk about, right? That's our message. Healthcare wishes, what are they? And again, keep this in mind, guys. It does not matter if you've told your brother 20 times. It does not matter if you've told your children what you want. Have you documented it? So those healthcare wishes, very important. Do I want to be resuscitated? If or when, God forbid, where would you prefer? What would you like? Ask those now. I hear this all the time, Tabitha, and not picking on my sibling, but would I want my sibling making my decisions for me? No. Love it or death. Not for this. Think about that now. And those legal documents, the POAs, the blah, blah, blahs, just make sure, do you have those? The last one I'll suggest or will suggest is those emotional needs. Do not forget that, okay? And even for you as caregivers, if I have to be in the emergency room because of my loved one, what may I need?
And one of the things I want to jump in with about the funding care is families can plan for this very different, because some families will say, I've worked my whole life and saved up this money. I want this money to go for my care. Other people will say, I've worked my whole life for this money to be an inheritance. I don't want this money to go for my care. So don't just assume that everyone feels the same about this, because it's not. This is an individual thing that people need to talk about.
How to handle the resistance. You're going to get it. I'm going to give you a few tips right now. First of all, putting yourself in their shoes. If you hear those things like, I'm fine, we don't need to talk about this, it's too early, right? As I always coach my caregivers, what's the emotion behind those phrases? Scared, frightened, too terrifying. Identify the emotions behind those. I know how frightening this is. I know we don't want to talk about this. I know this is not the future that we envision. Connect with emotion. At whatever age you are now, I'm telling you, do not talk as a son. Tabitha as a daughter, do not talk as a daughter. The things we know the longest are what we revert back to. It takes time. Just try to remember, respond to emotions. Here's the driving goal. You need to be in the circle of trust. You need to be in the circle of conversation. If we push, if we scream, if we force, guess what? You're going to be put out of that circle. So when the time comes, and decisions are made and conversations are had, you could have pushed yourself out of that circle. So that's defeating everything. So these are very important to keep to mind. And yeah, you may need practice. You may need to try a couple times, but this is the best advice of how to handle that resistance and respond to emotions, not the actual words. This is not about control for anyone. I'd say it's about honoring the wishes, reminding the person you care about that this is to make sure what you want is honored. What you don't want is acknowledged, right? That's very empowering. I can tell you in my experience, this was kind of a key for my loved one. She was always in control. She would tell you she was the boss, right? She'd tell you how to do it right. So when I could kind of put it in terms of you keep your power, you could fire that person if they don't live up to you. That's very empowering. And again, it's all about control. This person we're talking about and caring for, their life now is associated with things being taken away, losing control. I don't have much that I can control, even when I'm not sure what the conversation's about. Empower them. That's a very strong message, and it really can relieve the fear, the fright. Don't underestimate that, and remember, it's always about control, but this is about wishes. Respect autonomy. Now you're becoming the care partner who can have the conversations we need to have.
Let's not forget that when a person fills out the directives and they put it in writing and they do that, that is allowing them to take their control about their future instead of having to give up control because they didn't get around to planning and defining it. And so planning ahead of time allows a person to control and give dignity and independence in the way they want it.
Yeah. I mean, Tabitha, my fear about all this is knowing I'm going to lose control of my choices and decisions.
Yeah.
And there is the key. So I can't tell you this will just be magic, but now you have the tools in your toolbox. You can get through this. Have coaches that will coach you through it when needed, but you've got the tools. And so go forth feeling empowered, hopefully, and strong enough that we can do this. If you love someone and you care about them and you want the best for them, this is how you achieve the goal. And maybe that helps someone out there who's struggling with some of the things we talked about. I'm a dementia practitioner, care partner coach, but I'm a social worker at heart. So in that world, all my life, the anthem, the theme is document, document, document. If you didn't document it, it didn't happen. So documenting the conversations, taking notes, maybe recording it if that's easier and with everyone's permission. And here's why we're doing that. None of us are going to remember everything we came up with and talked about. If we have to mediate or diffuse disagreements between whoever at some point, sometimes referring back to the recording or the notes doesn't make it personal. We've all done this professionally. Your boss may say one thing, and not to get fired, you say, well, I take good notes and I see here, it's going to be very helpful to you. And it's from my world is if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. Once you've documented, I know whether it's 2 or 20 or 1,000 other key members, family members, someone who couldn't be at the meeting again is going to want to ask or know. This is one of the most important meetings you're ever going to have in your life. And professional follow-up. Remember, we're not professionals at all these things. None of us are as caregivers. So utilize and locate those trusted partners that you're going to need along the way. You can always turn to us at REMT, Bringing Back the Village, Just Us Retirement. You guys have many partners. Reach out and find those trusted professionals that you're going to need.
So we're acknowledging it can be hard to have these conversations, but we do provide some helpful tools linked in the comments. We do have our long-term care planning guide. It goes through what Medicare covers, how long-term care works, and what the different options are. But one of my favorite things that's in there is this form letter, and it allows you to leave a letter behind to your loved ones about the type of care that you want. There's also a questionnaire in there that helps you figure out what you want for your care. And I think that's a great starting point to help you figure out what to say, how to say it, and what's even an available option. We also have a free Facebook group. It is WV Medicare Questions. We are in there all the time answering questions, posting notes. And then JT and I both offer planning sessions that are available. You can contact me at 681-340-1377. JT, what's the best way of people getting hold of you?
You can also find me on Facebook, REMT Care Partner Coaching. You can visit our website, remtme.com, or give me a call at 304-395-6273.
JT, thank you so much for doing this. I hope we have inspired some people to get over the fear and just have a conversation. It will make a really, really big difference.